Good morning, everyone. Yes, very good morning. Shall we begin the session? Today's topic is the initial code that we have left in the last class. How the initial code is represented with the Windows, how it can gather the Windows environment, Visual Studio environment, tools, applications, runtime. So let's begin. So when we talk about the initial code in this application, that is in an Outlook add-in object, which is used with the system, used with the system.windows.forms, then Microsoft.Visual Studio.tools.applications.runtime. So whatever the tools we are using out, whatever the application, whatever the Visual Studio we are using out, that is used with the applications and the runtime. Then using Outlook, that is equals to Microsoft.office.intro.outlook. So whatever the Outlook product we are using up, so that is used with the Office, that is Microsoft Office, Intro, and the Outlook facility, Outlook application software. Then there is the namespace Outlook add-in 1, public partial class this application. This is used with the public class this application, then private void this application startup. So this is used with this application startup, then object sender event RGS E. There are two arguments in this, one is a sender, one is a E, then void this application startup. Then private void this application shutdown, object sender event ARGS E. This is used with this application, then the startup and the shutdown. There are two parts over there here. And the reason VSTO, designer generated code. So this is private void internal startup. This dot startup plus equals to new system. So this startup will be used with a new system with a new target. So this startup or this dot startup plus equals to new system. That is represented with the new part or the startup part. So whatsoever the data we are using up, that is used with the startup and the shutdown. So there are two parts in this. One is the startup, one is the shutdown. So private void this application startup, then region, VSTO designer generated code, then private void internal startup. So that is used with the private void internal startup, this dot startup plus equals to new system. Event handler, this system or this application startup, which is the event that is handled, that is this application startup. So this dot shutdown plus equals to new system. Then again there is a dot event handler, this application shutdown. There's the end of the reason over here. So private void internal startup or internal startup, that is used for this. That is the end of reason. Now looking at the VSTO or listing, you might wonder that about the use of partial in the class definition. We use partial classes, which are a new feature of .NET that enables you to define part of the class in one file and another part of the class in the second file, and then compile them together in the one class or as a one class. Then VSTO also uses this feature to hide some additional generated code that is associated with or with this application class from you to reduce. So whatever the class that they have, so the class that is reduced from you to reduce the complexity of the class where you write their code. So whatever the code that you write, so that is available or that is hiding or that is used as additional generated code that is associated with this application class. So this application class is a class in which the coding will be used, and this is always represented with the CS file. And the final, this application class will be compiled from the partial class in the listing, and the additional code is given with the generated VSTO that is hidden from you. The internal startup method is also generated by the VSTO and is also used to hook up. Hook up means get up, fetch up, everything for any event handler that is generated by VSTO. This is where the startup and the shutdown event handler are hooked up. So this is where both the events are hooked up, both the events are hooked up. You should not edit the content, everything is fixed. And we may also omit this block of code in some of the listing in this book, but the block of the code must be in the class, that is otherwise will be used or will fail to accomplish, will fail to compile. So we are going to add to the code to create an add-in that will solve an annoying problem. The people replying inadequately to an email sent out to an email, alas, that contains a large number of the problems or the large number of people. So unless you have a vice president in your title, you probably do not need to send emails to more than say 25 people at a given time. So we are giving, or we are going to create an add-in that will warn you if you do this and you do the potentially career limiting mode. So are you sure you want to send this email to 25,000 people message? So this Outlook or this application object has an item send event that is faced whenever an event or whenever a user sends an email. Now we will also add additional code to this or additional code to the startup method of this application class to connect to an event handler for the item send event. That is shown, and because this application class derives from an aggregate of outsiders or Outlook application object, so we can write the code this dot item send, because item send is an event traced by this application code. So whatever the application code, this application base class code that is used to represent the event handler, that takes an object parameter known as the item, which is the Outlook item being sent. And because item could be any of the number of things, such as meeting request or an email message, so item is passed as an object rather than a specific time. So whatever the object they have, so they will be using the meeting request, they will be using the email message. And the item second event or the send event handler also have a bool parameter that is passed by a reference known as the cancel events that can be set to true to prevent the Outlook items from being sent. And in our item send event handler, we need to check to see whether the item parameters is passed as an object, that is actually an email, or the easiest way to achieve this is to use the keyword to try to cast the item parameters to the Outlook. What are the various outcome parameters that is derived, that is defined by the, we can say defined by the method for which it can be used. That can be a value, that can be a not null or non-null. And we will know that the item being set is an Outlook in the mail item and therefore an email message. So we can use the recipient's collection on the mail item object and check to see whether we are sending to any recipient list that includes more than 25 people. And each of the recipient object in the recipient collection has an address entry property that returns an address entry object. And this entry object has a member property that returns a collection that we can check out whether this is going on, or if we find the count to be more than 25, we will show a dialog and ask the user that if she really wants to send the email. And if the user clicks the number button, so we will send the, or we will set the cancel parameter of the item send event to true to cancel the sending of the career limiting emails. That is a VSTO Outlook add-in that handles the item send event and also checks for more than 25 recipients. Now, next wording that is used is system.outlook for this one. Let's just wait. So whatsoever the code we are using now, so that will listing out what are the codes that will be behaving as a cancel parameter of the item send or the true parameter to cancel the sending of the career limiting. So then the VSTO Outlook add-in handles the item event send. It also checks for more than one or more than 25 represents or recipients. The next code is using system.windows.forms, Microsoft.Visual Studio.tools.application runtime. Then Outlook equals to Microsoft.Office.Interact.Outlook. So that is used with this. So one is the system, one is the Windows forms and the system. And one is the application runtime Visual Studio. And one is the Outlook that is given with the intro of Outlook Office. Then namespace Outlook add-in. One public partial class this application. Private void this application startup. Object sender event args. So this application startup will be used as a two object, two parameters, one is the sender, one is the E. Then this dot item send plus equals to new, then outlook dot application events 11 item send event handler, then this application item send. So this is used with the object sender with the event ARGSP. This application will be used as a startup event that will be used as a sender in the event RGS. Then this dot item send plus equals to new, then outlook dot application events 11 item send event handler, then this application items. This is used with the startup event, with the sender event, with the ARGS event. So this is automatically it increased by one, and that is assigned to the new. In the same way, Outlook is used with the application event with the 11 item send event handler. In the same way, it is used with this application item send. Then void this application item send object item reference bool cancel. So this item or this application items send will be used as item point that can be used as a reference boolean cancel. Then outlook.mail items, my item as the outlook mail item. Now, if my item dot not equals to none, so if it is not equals to none, so for each outlook dot recipient in my item dot recipients, so this recipient enters entry dot member count is greater than 25. So this is greater than 25, that is not equals to none. So as a user, if she really wants to send this email, the string message send me to the 0 with the 1 people. Then string caption more than 25 recipients. Then message box button dot yes no dialog result then result. So we use as a result equals to message box dot show string format message recipients address entry name, then recipient dot address entry dot members dot count, then caption and the buttons. Next is using the if function, if loop or if statement. It is using as result equals to dialog result dot number. Then cancel equals to true break. Then private void this application shutdown object sender event ARGSE. It is used with again the VSTO designer generated code. So this application shutdown event will be used again with the two arguments. One same argument sender in the E. Then cancel equals to true. Again it is used as a break. Region VSTO designer generated code. It is used with the internal startup. It is used with this dot startup new system event handler this application startup shutdown event with the new system event handler with this application shutdown and the end of the region. So this is the end of the region. That means end of the phase or end of the point. This will be closed at the end of the region, then close and close. So when you run this project with the code, Outlook launches and the add-in will be used, and try sending an email to an alliance that includes more than 25 people. You might want to go offline first in case you have mistyped the code. And if all works right, then the add-in will display a dialog box warning that you are sending an email to more than 25 people. And you will be able to cancel the send of this email, that is exit out to end your debugging session. So whenever we run the project or we execute the project, that is code. So Outlook launches an add-in load. So try sending an email to an LR that includes more than 25 people. You might want to go offline first in case you mistype the code. So if you mistype the code, you have to go with the offline mode. If all works right, the add-in will display a dialog box warning that you are sending an email to more than 25 people, and you will be able to cancel the send of the email. And then exit out the lookup to end your debugging sessions, and that carried out with the creating Outlook add-ins with the VSTO, then discuss with the VSTO Outlook add-ins, that goes about the programming Outlook, working with the Outlook events and working with the Outlook objects, respectively. There is a code behind a document that says that whenever we are using the document pending, so whenever we are using behind a document by acquiring or by requiring that the developer uses the classes generated in a VSTO project that have a pre-hooked up context and pre-hooked up events. These classes are sometimes known as a code behind classes because they are a code that is associated with a particular document or the worksheet. And in MS Word or in Word, there is also one code behind this or behind that we can use that correspond to the document. And in Excel, whenever we are using the multiple codes, for example, we are using the code that is behind the classes, one for the workbook, one for the each worksheet that is given, or the chart sheet in the worksheet. And the first time your code runs in a VSTO code behind the document project is when the office raises the startup event handled by any of the code behind the classes created for you. And VSTO also provides context via the base class of the code behind the class we are writing via the customizing an Excel sheet that derives from a base class that contains all the methods, properties, and events that enables you to write the code such as this in the startup method of the worksheet class. That is message_show string.format 0 is the sheet name and this dot name. So this is used with the this now dot name which is used with the show event, that is the sheet name. And by using this dot name we are referring to the name property of the Excel worksheet that is inherited from the base class. The next part that is listing out with the 2C that also shows with the VSTO code behind the class for an Excel worksheet. And when we say about the Excel worksheet, that is used with the startup and the shutdown methods in the code behind the class. And there is also a generated method known as the internal startup. You should not put any of your code in this internal startup method because it is auto-generated code that is generated by the VSTO. And modifying it can also break the Visual Studio support for the code behind the classes. Instead, your startup code should go in the startup event handlers. It is going with the VSTO code behind the document. It is going or it is used with the partial classes to hide some additional code generated by the VSTO. Whatever the VSTO code that will be used, that is used for the workbook customization, workbook data. This is using system.data, using system.drawing, system.windows.forms, Microsoft.office, or Visual Studio Tools application runtime. Then Excel equals to office.intro of Excel. Then Office, Microsoft.office.course. That will be used with the namespace Excel workbook 1, public partial class sheet 1, private void sheet 1, startup, object sender, object for event ARGS is. That is the initial entry point. This code gets run fast when the code behind is created and this is implicit in the sheet 1 class. And this message box show is also used, or that is also a code behind the document. That is the sheet name for this. That is the sheet name for this code behind the document. So whenever we are using the code behind a document, that is also explanatory. That says that whenever there is a class that is code behind class, there is a code that is associated with a particular document or the worksheet. And there is in fact one code that is behind the class for a word. In the same way, Excel performs operations. So Excel also contains a multiple code that behind the class, one for the workbook, one for each worksheet or the chart sheet in the workbook. And the first time of your code runs in a VSTO code that is behind the document project. So it is when the office raises the startup event handled by any of the code behind the classes that is attached to you. So whenever it is used with the attachment, whenever it is used with the behind the code, that class will be used for alteration, for startup event, for the context via the base class, via the code class, via you are writing the code. And it's also used to customize the Excel workbook or Excel worksheet that derives from a base class, that derives with the methods, properties, and events of an Excel worksheet. So that is used behind the code, that is used with the VSTO project, that have a predefined pre-hooked up context and the pre-hooked up event. So these requires with the developer code, these requires with the user code, user classes that is generated in a VSTO project. And that have a predefined or the pre-hooked up classes, context, and the pre-hooked up events also. That is not the mandatory part, that requires the developer code to be there, to be present in the developer sheet, we can say. No, no, no. That is not. Yeah, lesson query. The main thing is that in Excel, in Word, there is a code behind. We are not able, or we are not supposed to write the code. There's a code that is available behind the Word. That means you work with the Word, so there is a code. You work with the Excel, there is a code. We are not supposed to write the code, but there is a code that is already defined within the Word, Excel, or PowerPoint. So that is not your job. We can say that is not a cup of tea. That is basically a designer's job, that is a manufacturer's job, that does this one. Yes, right. So these classes or these classes are sometimes known as a code behind classes also, because there is a code associated with a particular document or the worksheet. It is not possible. It is not possible to have more than one code in the Word, Excel, or anything. With a single object code that is associated with the various application software documents, for example, Word, Excel, PowerPoint. And chart sheets are also available in the workbook.